Hello everyone, I'm Gabriel, and in today's lesson we will be talking about thermal energy. So what is thermal energy? So before we even know what thermal energy is, we have to discuss the different forms of thermal energy, or overall heat energy, or just energy in general. So main forms of thermal energy, which are basically like systems or actual physical things that you could see, feel, and touch, are things like fire and the sun. But something that transfers thermal energy could be something like heat or temperature. So those are basically just regular basic forms of thermal energy, being systems and actual heat, that which thermal energy makes. But then we gotta talk about what can you think of these as these, which would be internal energy and heat transfer. So the fire and the sun, those would be classified as internal energy. And find total energy within a system, you have to look at the total amount of potential energy, or PE, in a system, and the total amount of kinetic energy, or KE, in a system. Example of this we have here is with our friend Bob. You see, Bob wouldn't go in the pool. It was hot, it was summer. He gets used to the water a bit, then he decides to get on the jumping board and dive in. He jumps up and down and up and down a few times. And next time when he lands, you see the diving board, it goes a little lower than like normal. That means it's storing the potential energy, which basically means it's getting ready to release the energy. And so Bob just going down with diving board. But once Bob decides it's time to go, he jumps off the diving board, and because he jumps off the diving board, all that potential energy is released as kinetic energy, throwing Bob up and allowing him to cannonball right into the pool. And that's basically what the internal energy is. You see, when he's in the middle of like being flung up, there's still potential energy and there's still kinetic energy. Basically, the only way for potential energy no longer be there is if Bob is actually falling down. When he's still going up, there's still potential energy. But when he's going down, he starts losing potential energy and it starts going to kinetic energy, which is basically how it works. So we just take the amount of potential energy he has mid-rise, and amount of kinetic energy he also has mid-rise, and that will give us our internal energy. Now for heat transfer, we can take the sun, which you have over here, and the earth, which we are on. The sun, it's always generating heat. And that heat goes everywhere here, which is basically the heat or the energy from the sun transferring all over the area. So the sun, its heat, it goes that way, that way, that way, and that way. It goes everywhere. And because of this, it transfers all the heat that it could, based on where we are, to us. So if we are further away, it transfer less heat. If we are closer, it transfer a lot more heat. And that's basically how heat transfer works. The closer you are, the more heat you could actually get. And that basically means is that no matter where you are, you're always gonna get heat. It's just gonna be a different amount of heat depending on where you are. That's basically heat transfer. And that's basically what thermal energy is. The thermal energy could either be internal energy, which would be your potential energy and kinetic energy in the system together, or it could just be the transfer of heat energy or overall energy to another system, like with the sun transferring to the earth. And that's basically what thermal energy is. But how could this be used? What are some examples, like real life actual examples you might be able to see with thermal energy? And that is what we'll get to. So we're outside, and basically we're just doing a live demonstration of basically how energy transfer works. So we have our lighter guy, Jackson. He'll be demonstrating with the lighter and basically fire with how energy transfer is. Dominic, he's our water guy. Of course, with this, if you ever test fire and energy transfer, always have some water.
What else?
Yeah, and I'm just doing and with the materials we're burning, and basically explain energy transfer. So for first piece of stuff we have is tissue. Or toilet paper. See, I'm just hold by this corner. Jack, you burn this corner. Jack, burn this corner, okay? Just hold it there.
Burn it.
Yeah, it's burning.
But don't drop it off. Dude.
Yeah.
No, Jackson, not yet. That we're already burning something.
Yeah.
Let's kindle the fire.
Yeah.
Let it all.
So basically what happened is when the fire interacted, basically what happened was when the fire interacted with the tissue, which basically the fire transmitted or transferred energy towards the tissue, burning the tissue. You were at least giving the tissue enough energy to actually ignite its own fire. And basically with how energy transfer works is fire or any source of energy really. Donnie, can you get more tissue, please?
Yeah, please go get more tissue.
Use Jet.
Sorry.
Okay.
Some water to douse the fire.
Yeah, so basically with how energy transfer works, it takes some time to actually transfer energy into something and start burning it. And so like with the lighter Jackson has, before the tissue actually started burning, he has to hold the fire towards the tissue for a few seconds, about 2 or 3 seconds. That's from what I estimate. Which allows for something quite nice to happen where there's a little period of which you can actually touch fire and you won't get burned or hurt. You can also do this without even having fire. Let's take if you're cooking or someone else in your house is cooking. You could actually touch a pot or pan for a singular second, and you'll just feel
that, but
yeah, like a little tap, and you'll feel heat, but you won't get burned. You won't get burned at all.
Maybe more, yeah. I like flames.
I'll be it. So let's do some more.
Dude,
Don't worry. There's nothing in there. So yeah, let's do some more burning.
Because nothing bad comes of that.
Yeah, nothing really. Well, bad stuff can come of burning stuff, but if you're doing it in a controlled environment, with water, of course, there's nothing too bad usually happens. So, Jack, tissue? Fire. Yeah. And of course, fire spreads.
It seems that these flames are a little more controlled.
Well, I wouldn't say control. It's more because
They're smothered.
basically what's happening is for fire actually in light, it needs oxygen. And what happened when we put the tissue onto the live fire is it got rid of the live actual oxygen around it. Meaning it wouldn't really be able to ignite any other stuff. And that's basically how energy transfer works and how some fire works.
Whoa. This is why you
Okay.
should not be lying how
Okay, it's
fire. This is why you should be not lighting fire.
You guys have to be careful. If that was
And as you can see, if the water gets to something flammable, the flammable resource no longer lights.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the moisture takes out most of the fire and heat.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically with how energy transfer is it takes time to energy actually transfer into something. And it takes time for that energy to actually birth into something like fire. But of course, certain amounts of energy will actually be needed to actually make fire, which is why certain things like, let's say, an electrical output or outlet, or a light like the one we have out there, that won't start a fire because it has not reached the amount of energy that would actually start a fire. But something like this lighter, it burns fuel, which could actually generate enough energy to actually start a fire. And that's basically how energy transfer works, and yeah. Now, of course, I'll get a piece. Now, of course, Or something else that should also be thought about is what kind of thing is actually being burned. So over here we have some cardboard boxes. I'll just rip a piece off of it. Okay. We got our piece. So let's go back out. Jack can come back.
Those don't burn.
Doesn't matter, Mark will burn. You will burn. Yeah, but at the same time, you know exactly what I love.
Okay.
I love puppy.
So Jack, if you can, torch in this corner right here.
That's a bit small, but
Don't worry. So different materials take different amounts of time to actually light, right? And they actually light a lot differently compared to other materials, like this piece of cardboard. It lights, but it takes a longer amount of time to actually get the energy light, and it stays lit for a lot shorter amount of time compared to the tissue papers.
so much shorter that sometimes the fire goes out before it can burn.
Couldn't even get close to my hand.
But if you hold it there for longer, then the flames have more time to engulf.
That's because
slowly
there's
burn.
a whole lot more energy actually being transferred into it. You see, the main source of the fire, which would be our torch or whatever you might want to call it, it is the main source of the fire. Yeah, that's starting to get close to me. Yeah, it's the main source of the fire. So it has all the energy that's needed to actually make the fire. So it transfers energy into the cardboard. But since it transfers the energy into the cardboard, making the fire starts using up the energy. And slowly, because the energy is being lost and it's being used up, there's going to be less and less energy until the fire eventually just goes out by itself. Now, of course, something else you should always know is fire does need oxygen to burn. So you could have as much energy in fire as you want, but with no oxygen, it will just go out. So that's basically it for energy transfer. Energy transfer takes a certain amount of time based on material. It takes a whole lot more energy to burn different materials. And materials burn at a lot faster rates compared to other materials, like we saw with our tissue paper and our cardboard. Cardboard needs more energy to actually start to ignite, and needs more energy to actually finish ignition, or just fully burn, basically. And with our tissue paper, need a whole lot less time to actually ignite, a whole lot less energy to ignite, and a whole lot less time and energy to actually finish its ignition or finish burning up until it just burns completely. And that's basically for energy.
Yeah.
Heat transfer. If you enjoyed the video, there will be more coming. Tell your friends, tell your family members if they're still in school that this is a thing that is being done. On the school helper program, we're still looking for plenty of members. Right now, it's just me and some of my siblings. Yeah. Come back later. So yeah, that's basically end of this lesson. Many more kind of lessons like this will be coming out at some point in the future. If you have any friends who might need help from a program like this, or just know anyone who might actually want to help a program like this and teach other people, we are always welcome. I mean, people who might want to join, and we're very glad when people actually want to join this. So yeah, have a nice day, nice night, nice basically everything, and yeah, see you later.